Welcome to the show. This is The Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. Let's get on with the show with the news, the views, the reviews, and interviews. Yes, the show's looking a little bit odd at the moment, but we have a good reason to, but we still have the regular. So let's get into the news. Beautiful. Now, Daisy Ridley is promoting her new horror film that's coming out here in Australia, as I'm in Melbourne, Australia. It's coming out this week. So she was being interviewed by the big news outlets here on the free-to-air TV shows here. And in one of the interviews, she was asked in what is happening with her particular role with Star Wars. And she answered, they are working towards a release of a movie, whether that is a complete Rey Skywalker film or just something inside a film, but it's a working towards, which suggests to me that they have more plans after the big film that comes out in 2027, which is Starfighter. And I think they've got a plan set in motion, which is great. And personally, I think Daisy Ridley would be still great in Star Wars, and that's what I think. Anyway, so to more news. No news is good news when it comes to Starfighter. There's been nothing said, nothing heard. It's sort of in production, and we're just waiting on something. This Super Bowl is almost here, so we may get some sort of teaser or trailer or image or something, maybe with Starfighter, but I think we're going to get more something on the lines of Mandalorian and Grogu, which is surprising because I don't think the budget would be super high for that production, as it's sort of not got a great reaction. But maybe this is something that's going to surprise us on the day of the Super Bowl, which is, I think, February 9th. So mark that down in your calendars. Watch out for any possible Star Wars movement. Mandalorian and Grogu, maybe Starfighter. Let's just wait and see. And pretty much that's the news for this time around. Let's get into views. Views is my story idea where I talk about something I like to see in Star Wars that is something I'd like to see. I do accept the story for what it is, from the start to finish. It's not always the best story, but it is an adventure, a journey in space. Not just space, a really used future space that I love this style of Star Wars. Whether the story is bad or good or in between, I still love it. But anyway, let's get into the actual idea that I have. And I think... let's talk about the Daisy Ridley possible film. I really strongly urge the writers, and I would personally do this myself. I think life imitates art and art imitates life, and I think that plan should go ahead definitely with Star Wars. I would definitely put Daisy Ridley's character Rey or Rey Skywalker or whatever it is. Maybe just call her Rey in the beginning, because I think if you just go straight off the bat with Rey Skywalker, the ones who hate it would really voice their craziness. And we just need to focus on the story at hand. She is known to all of us as Rey, but I would put her in a movie, not a standalone film at this stage. And personally, I think Rey the character would be better inside a film and not an actual standalone film. I think that's what I would do. That's my story idea. I'd put a splash of her in a movie. I don't know if I do it in Starfighter. I'm unsure. I think it could be a bit too early, but you really want to take the idea of art imitates life, life imitates art, especially with Star Wars reality here on Earth. And I think it would be a good blend in, and I think her character is great, and I think Daisy really is great. Anyway, she's working towards a release. That's pretty much the title of this film, of this episode. Anyway, that's the views for this time around. Let's get into reviews. Reviews this time around is something pretty straightforward. Actually, where Rey Skywalker was introduced, the film Episode 9, whether you love it or hate it, she was introduced in this film, Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. And this is a Funko Pop. And still the price is on it. This is the version of Kylo Ren that appears in the Rey Skywalker. How can you tell? If you look closely at the mask, he's got the red sort of glue type electronic sort of stuff that holds his mask together as he broke it in The Last Jedi, which is episode 8. This here, look, I think Kylo Ren's look of the character is okay. The acting was much better. The type of character, the idea was almost there, but I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. This is I'm not a big Funko Pop person, but I have a number of them. This here is an 8 out of 10. Kylo Ren from the Rise of Skywalker. I still cherish this. I don't think I'd want to give this up. I think it's history. Anyway, so that is the review for this time around. Let's get now into interviews. Interviews is usually the questions I've been getting on my comment section in the YouTube channel. If you're going to send in a comment or a question, and again, I'm not Mr. Trivia Man, so I'm not going to know every single thing, but send it to the last actual video I've done on the YouTube channel. I don't really have an Instagram or X or Twitter at the moment for this Star Wars show, so the best way to get your comment or question is through this. Keep it appropriate, I'll be fine. And usually we have a guy named Michael from Werribee South. Werribee South is on the other side of Melbourne in Australia, Victoria, Melbourne, Australia. Werribee South is on the other side. He's a person I know in person. He loves getting to know about Star Wars, and let's just see what he's asked. And again, you can ask him questions that I can answer for him on the show if you want. Anyway, so let's get on with the show. So, in the first question, which famous actress played Sabe, Queen Amidala's decoy in The Phantom Menace? Well, I had to Google this one because I wanted to be sure, because I thought it may be the Australian actress I spoke about a couple of weeks ago. But the actual answer is Keira Knightley, which, you know, is quite a big actress for such a small role, but this was The Phantom Menace that came out in 2000, so it was many moons ago. So that is the actual answer, Keira Knightley. So let's get into the next question that, yes, Michael from Werribee South has answered, asking, while commonly known as Slave One, what is the official model name of Boba Fett's starship? Now, I did have to Google this one as well, but when I Googled it, I thought, man, this is actually a better name than Slave One. It's actually, well, it's not the name, but it's the type of ship. And it's called a Firespray 31 class. Firespray, man, what a name. I think that's great. But anyway, it is officially Slave One. It is still a good name, but Firespray sounds like a real hotted up American car. Anyway, so that is the answer to that question. Let's go back into the questions, see what Michael obviously keep asking me. The next question, Darth Vader's chess piece has writing on it. What language is it in? And what is the translation? Well, I didn't get to the translation part, but I can tell you that it's Hebrew. Hebrew is on his chest plate. Yes, it is. That's amazing. That's great. I think the languages of the world, especially written, especially when it's Japanese or Chinese, something Asian, is actually so artistic. I'd love it. I mean, you could put that on anything and it makes any boring T-shirt look good. And the Hebrew one equally is great. So that's the language. So the next question from Michael from Werribee South, who were the only two characters that appeared in every Star Wars trilogy? Well, that's pretty straightforward. It's R2-D2 and C-3PO. But added to that fun fact, C-3PO, who's played by Anthony Daniels, has appeared in most of the Star Wars film releases, including standalone films in which he also played other characters in. He's actually played a Wookiee in Solo as well. I think it was a Wookiee. I think it was the Wookiee. So a Wookiee, not the Wookiee, not Chewbacca, but a Wookiee. Anyway, so let's go to the next question is, why did George Lucas changed Luke's original surname from Starkiller to Skywalker is because Starkiller was a bit too, too brutal for the type of character he is. Be honest, the name Skywalker just rolls really good, but he was not a big fan of it. Even the studio was not a big fan of it, but he bended towards that because it just had a more subtle sort of feel. And I think it's just, it's one of those names that is a created name in history that is super great. Anyway, because it was less brutal than Starkiller is really the answer to that question. Now, also, I actually skipped a question here. What is the name of the uncredited character George Lucas plays in Revenge of the Sith? Now, let me just add to this. I reckon this is probably one of the worst looking characters in Star Wars. I would hold this a worse looking character than Jar Jar Binks. I think Jar Jar Binks was fine. I never had a problem with him. But this one, it just looked a bit like a blue face on a human. I'm going to accept the story for what it is, even the characters, but I just thought there could have been a bit more sort of creativity with this. But didn't know the character's name, but the character's name is, which I had to Google, can you believe it? Google. And the name was, not that, it was the next one. It was Baron, not Lewinsky, Pap and Noida. What a long name that was. I'm not going to repeat that, but that was the character's name. George Lucas played in Revenge of the Sith. It was the only time he's actually appeared in his own Star Wars films was Revenge of the Sith, which is episode 3. A great episode. Anyway, so the next and I think final question from Michael from Werribee South is, according to George Lucas, what was the name of the planet Obi-Wan Kenobi is from? Now, this was only created recently, and it was on a talk show. I love talk shows. In fact, that's why I've got the David Letterman mug from yesteryear. I don't know if you know David Letterman, but he was a champion. I love, Conan O'Brien as well. Loved it. I love talk shows in America. They are dying out now, but the actual talk show he was on, Jon Stewart's talk show in America. So he called the planet Stew John because he was on that show. He asked him, Jon Stewart asked George Lucas, where does Obi-Wan come from? And then he just almost created it on the spot. Almost like how he created the purple lightsaber after Samuel Jackson, who played Mace Windu, who wanted a purple lightsaber, pretty much almost on the spot said, that's it. But he did have to think about it. And anyway, so that is the answer to that question. In fact, that's pretty much the show this time around. And I'm here usually 2 or 3 times a week at the moment, usually 3 or 4 times a week, depending on the news and what's happening in my regular life. At the moment, I'm quite busy outside of my, The Force Always life. And please subscribe to the channel, The Force Always. I'm here as The Force Always with you guys, being The Force Always. Let's bring it together. Let's keep rocking. And speaking of which, until next time, my friends, keep rocking.